Okay, so AI in fashion? That's not exactly new. We've all seen it making waves for the last few years. But what we're talking about today, well, this isn't just another wave. This is a seismic shift. We're moving way beyond those single perfect images and into something far more revolutionary, the multi-agent runway.
I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. Think of it like a video game. The AI fashion industry had already mastered the early levels, right? They perfected the solo act, that one perfect shot of a single AI model. But the ultimate challenge, the final boss, was always this. How do you get a whole group of them on screen together, seamlessly?
And yeah, that's the crucial question, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to create a single digital person and make them look good. It's a whole other thing to orchestrate an entire crowd, a full-blown runway show where every single element has to be perfectly in sync. That's a whole different ballgame.
So, let's get into it. This is where we break down fashion's new final boss. Because what we're talking about here is a technical holy grail that has finally been achieved. This isn't just some small upgrade. This is what people in the industry have been chasing for years. And just recently, the game completely changed.
To really give you some perspective on how massive this leap is, just look at this timeline. Back in the early 2020s, the whole focus was on perfecting the solo shot. But then, boom, February 20th, 2026, the multi-agent runway arrives. Suddenly, we're not just generating single models, we're generating entire cohesive fashion shows with dozens of them at once. And as you can see, what's coming next is even more mind-bending.
All right, so to really appreciate the solution, you first have to understand the problem. And that was the coherence challenge. This was a massive technical barrier, and it's the simple reason you didn't see full AI-generated runway shows until now.
So what was actually happening? Well, the AI would literally get confused. You'd see these bizarre glitches, like one model's face would start to bleed onto the person next to them. You'd have shadows coming from all different directions that made absolutely no logical sense. The physics of the clothing would be all wrong. And maybe worst of all, a model would lose their unique identity from one frame to the next. It was a total digital mess.
So, the industry obviously needed a new standard for quality. And that standard became temporal coherence. Now, it sounds technical, but it's a pretty simple idea with huge implications. Does the world inside the video stay consistent and believable from one frame to the next? For luxury brands, anything less than a perfect yes was completely unacceptable.
So how did they finally solve it? Well, that brings us to the AI director's solution. And the answer came from a beautifully elegant concept, the AI director. Instead of trying to generate one big, chaotic scene all at once, they created a system to orchestrate it, like a conductor leading a sympathetic symphony, with every AI model playing its part perfectly.
The foundational tech here is something called spatial anchoring. Here's the core idea. Each AI model is treated as its own independent agent. So think of it like this. Instead of painting one big picture with 20 people in it, you create 20 independent digital puppets, and you assign each one a specific spot on a virtual 3D stage. They can move, but they can't interfere with each other's core existence.
And the results of this are brilliant. With spatial anchoring, you get identity persistence. Model 7 will always stay Model 7, even if she walks behind someone else. You get global lighting, where one single light source dictates all the shadows, so everything looks consistent and realistic. And crucially, you get collision physics. If two models brush past each other, the AI now understands how their clothes should realistically interact. No more glitching.
So sitting on top of all of this, you have the conductor of this whole orchestra, the director agent. Now, this is a high-level AI that doesn't actually draw the picture. Its entire job is to be the choreographer. It tells all the other little model agents where to go, how to move, and when to do it.
And the director's job really breaks down into three key roles. First, it choreographs the walk cycle, making sure every model has that same consistent, on-brand walk. Second, it controls the virtual cameras flying through the scene to get the perfect shot. And third, it syncs the pacing of every single movement to the music and the overall vibe of the show. We're talking about total control.
Okay, so we understand the how. Now let's talk about the so what. Because this technology isn't just some cool trick. This is a full-blown economic and creative revolution for the entire fashion industry. And honestly, this table says it all. The cost? It absolutely plummets. The scale? It's basically infinite. Why have 50 models when you can have 200? The location is no longer limited by physics. You could literally hold a show on the moon. And the reach goes from an exclusive few hundred people to a global audience of millions, instantly. And to really put that cost into perspective, just look at this number, $5 million for a single 15-minute event. That's what a top-tier physical fashion show can cost when you factor in the venue, the models, the crew, everything. It's just a staggering figure. And this bar chart just makes it crystal clear. If a traditional show costs, let's say, 100 units of money, a synthetic show costs just 5. That is not an incremental improvement. That is a fundamental disruption of the entire economic model of fashion.
With this new capability comes a new way to measure quality. It's called coherence sync. You can think of it as a score for how flawlessly the AI maintains the reality of the scene. And you better believe that luxury brands are now demanding a high sync score. That means 0 flicker and 100% realistic lighting. It has to look and feel real.
So where does this all lead? We're already seeing the next evolution. Because these models are agents in a 3D space, this technology is changing the very concept of what a show can even be.
So, I want you to take a moment and really let this next idea sink in. We are moving beyond just watching. The very definition of a runway is being completely rewritten by this technology.
That's the future. The runway becomes an interactive world, where you, the viewer, can pause the show, walk right up to a model, and inspect the stitching on a garment in 8K resolution. This is the convergence of fashion, gaming, and AI.
So we've gone from solo artists to full-blown symphonies. The multi-agent runway proves that AI can handle the immense complexity of a full-scale production. The physical and financial limits are gone. Now, the only thing holding a creative director back is the scope of their own imagination. So the only question left is, what world will they build next?